think on TV shows they can convey in a way that, they get everything right now. Maybe explain in your own words, like the typical day to day of an ER room, and then maybe, explain perhaps maybe getting an MRI in like 3 seconds isn't exactly the status quo of what an ER runs like.
Well, we can get we can order any test, right? Like whether or not we're going to get it is a different question.
Mm-hmm.
For MRI is a great example. A lot of people come in and they say they need an MRI and their insurance hasn't approved it yet and they really need an MRI. An MRI is not an emergency test pretty much ever. There's like 2 or 3 situations I can think of where I need an emergent MRI. Otherwise, not a test for me. And that's when it comes, but that's like the one time I'll mention insurance. Because if you came in and you said you've had this back pain for a month and you need an MRI, if you don't check any of the scary boxes for me and I ordered an MRI, that's probably not going to be covered, right? Because it's just not needed emergently.
What do you mean by
as
scary
far as
boxes?
So there's a few things, back pain comes with a few red flags, right? Loss of bowel and bladder control. You generally numbness going down both legs. You can't walk, literally can't walk, not because of pain. If you happen to have special situations where we might worry about an infection in your spine. So those are things that we really need to get an MRI like right now. Everything else, pretty much not. And then certain stroke situations, we need an MRI like right now. Other than that, MRI is hard to get. But like, for example, a CAT scan, if you came in and I'm worried you have the worst headache of your life and I'm worried you have an aneurysm that popped, you got blood in your brain, I can get that done in like 5 minutes if I need to. So certainly a lot of things can happen quickly. Every order is stat in the emergency department because presumably we're getting it because we need it right now. So we can get pretty much any test, but the question is whether or not we're going to order that test, right? Your cholesterol panel, I'm never going to order, right? That doesn't make any difference to me in the emergency department, right? But your blood counts, your electrolytes, I probably need to know about. So that's kind of how it works. It's certainly we can get things quickly, sometimes quicker than others, but that's not, we're not there because it's taken too long to get a test as an outpatient.
Why is a CAT scan quicker than MRI? I guess for people that don't understand and like what they are, like what is the difference between the two, and maybe even like a CT scan?
Yeah, so CT scan or CAT scan, same thing. Basically I like to describe it as like you pretty much got like hundreds of x-rays all at the same time, and then they're reformatted by the computer. So it's basically an open donut. You go in there and it's like a really fast test, like a couple of minutes it takes. An MRI is all based on magnets and creating data pictures through magnetism. I'm not a physicist, but it uses magnets. And it takes a long time, right? So to get a brain MRI is probably like a half hour, 45-minute test to do. Whereas a CAT scan of the brain probably takes 3 minutes. So those are the tests themselves take a really long time. They're very expensive. Like the machines are extremely expensive. They need specialized people to work the machines. And they also take a really long time to read because you get really detailed pictures. So those are the differences, and that's why we can get them quicker rather than the MRI. And CAT scan, that's like an ER doctor's best friend, right? We can get them quick. They give us really good information. For example, if you come in for we're worried about a stroke, we got to make sure you don't have blood in your brain. You go to CAT scan, 3 minutes later, I can look at the CAT scan and tell you, no, you don't have blood in your brain. We're going to step 2. So those are the nice things we can do with CT scans. MRI is a whole nother ball game, and again, generally not an emergency.
Yeah, and I think that's good for people to know, because I think a lot of the time everyone uses MRI as a gold standard, and I guess in a way it is, but when you're going into the ER, don't expect to go get an MRI, or if your back pain hurts, maybe, don't get an MRI, go see somebody else first and expect you need that image in order for you to get better, or in order for you to figure out what's going on, because that's not always the case.
Right. Exactly. Usually with the people that come in with back pain, if they're going home, I'll say, well, if this continues, you may need some physical therapy. You may need an MRI down the line. But it's not a today situation.